Now, Betty, what are we going to do tonight?
I'm going to kick some ass!
Welcome to Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
Episode 78 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts. Search for keyword True Chicago and use your promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official TCSF shirts now.
Go get them.
There you go. As always, I am Big Z, and I'm here with my boy E-Rock. What up, E?
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show, and welcome to 2022. If you're a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. And don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there and click on support, and you can subscribe for as low as 99 cents a month. Look, new year, new you. So that means throw your boys a little bit of coin and let's make some money here, guys. Every little bit helps, and we like doing a show for you, so do something for us. Listen, if you like the show, tell your friends, and they will tell their friends, and we can all be friends, and we talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit, and hopefully you enjoy. Z, what's up, brother? How was your last week of 2021?
Yo, E, it was good. It was good. I was able to clean out a couple rooms, get some clutter out the way, catch up on some chores, like I said, getting rid of a lot of clothes and shoes, because that COVID weight, that's hitting hard. There was no bowling league this week. They decided not to do it for the holiday. Well, womp womp, you get into a groove and you want to keep going, but it is what it is. I was able to go to see the Office Experience downtown, and I know you're a big Office fan, so I think you would appreciate that. Took a lot of pictures. I'll upload them probably tonight or tomorrow, so you can see all that cool stuff. I'm a fan of the show, but I just became a recent fan of the show. I watched it periodically when it was on in syndication, but I was never one that watched it week to week. So I'm appreciating the show now that it's finished and to be able to catch up on Peacock. Again, it's a show that I caught on to, and people were always telling me it was funny. It's kind of like me telling people about Seinfeld. So, and then I've been watching this other popular show that we'll talk about later on this week. But what about you, man? How was your week? What was your last week of 2021?
It was interesting, man. And it's funny that you talk about The Office, because that's one of those shows where you really appreciate it if you work in an office. If you don't, then you don't understand. You don't get the dynamic of those characters. So that's kind of where it took a while for some people to catch on to it. But look, my last week was very interesting. I had my little break. You had your 2 weeks. I had to work Monday and Tuesday of the last week of the year. And Tuesday on the way home, I'm driving home, and it was that day that we had the first snow of the year. And I get a notification on my console, and it says low tire pressure, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, maybe because it's cold. And then I'm almost home, and I feel the car kind of pulling, and I was like, oh, what the hell is going on here? I pull it into the garage, and I look, and I see my front passenger tire is flat, not like, oh, I'm a little soft. I am flat, like, yeah. So I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I was like, you know what, whatever. I pulled in, it was cold, it was snowing, I wasn't about to lay on the ground. I put it off until Thursday morning. Wednesday, my guy Jubs, Chris, who hit me up last time to go to that Sox game, hits me up and then says, hey, let's go to the Bulls game. So I was like, hell yeah, let's go to the Bulls game. So went on Wednesday to the Bulls game, had a great time. Thursday morning, I go back out to the garage. I pop open the back of the car. I go in there to get out the spare, and there's no spare in there. There's a little box that says deflator kit or deflate. I was like, what the fuck fuck is this? What is this shit? I said, what? It was like a little it was like a fix-a-flat on steroids, and it has the well in the bottom, and it even has like the cutout to put a spare. And I was like, oh no. So I'm sitting there debating on what I'm gonna do about this flat tire, and luckily I don't have to go to work until the following week because I had a little bit of time that I was taking off, you know. So I'm like, oh man, what do I do? I don't have a jack in the car. My old car that's sitting in the garage, the old Impala, is locked, and the battery is dead, so I can't even pop the trunk. Okay, so I'm over here sitting like, man, what am I gonna? So I go to my neighbor. I'm like, hey, you got a jack? He's like, yeah, but I'm leaving in an hour. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna take the little rinky-dink jack that comes with new cars, which except for mine. And I'm just like, damn, what the hell am I gonna do with this car? I was gonna steal a car. I was gonna steal a tire and a whole wheel off a different car, and just throw it on the new car, right? So I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? So I look out the window, and I see the neighbor across the way, who is literally cleaning the jack from his. And now this guy, you've been to my house, so you've seen him. He's the guy that drives the Hummer around the corner, right?
Yeah. So
I'm like, oh man, let me go up to this guy. I've never talked to him. I waved and maybe said, that's it. Hey man, how you doing? I'm Eddie. I live right in that middle house right there. I got a question for you. I'm thinking about grabbing the tire from this car, putting it on my car. What do you think? He's like, that sounds weird. I was like, my car didn't come with a jack. He's literally cleaning the shack. He brings, I mean, this is a big boy because he's working on Hummers. He brings it over, jacks up the front of the car. He's got the hydraulic to pick the tire off in 4 seconds. This shit would have took me like 3 hours with the little. So he takes the tire off. We bring it back. He's got all this equipment in the garage. He gets the little plug, plugs it in there, fills it up. No leaks. We're good to go. Throw it back in the car. I've been driving for the last couple of days. So shout out to John who came through in the clutch. I mean, like it was wild. I was so pissed. I got a 2021 Kia Sportage and there's no spare tire in there. I was so pissed. It was ridiculous. I mean, like, but this dude, John, came through in the clutch. I'm over here texting my wife, hey, he's gonna help me out. She immediately started baking some cookies. So we brought, as soon as when that tire was done, I'll go back inside. We got the nice hot cookies, bring them over. I called him. I was like, hey, you in the garage? He's, yeah. I said, well, I'm gonna come over. He goes, don't you come over here without them cookies. So I brought over some fresh cookies, and that was, I'm gonna tell you right now, John, you are an absolute lifesaver. Thank you so much for making my life a lot easier. And after all that money I spent on Christmas, I don't even think I had money to go get that tire fixed anyway. So he really helped me out, man. Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm laughing my ass off because it's like you buy a brand new car, and it pretty much had a little note that said, "Fuck you." I owe you a tire and it doesn't have a jack. How does that happen, man? How does that happen in today's day? How do you not have a spare? That's insane.
It did, and this is the thing too. I call the dealership. I'm like, hey, I bought this car from you and you guys forgot something. And the guy goes, well, some cars don't come with that nowadays. I'm like, what, why? I said, what are you supposed to do if a tire goes bad? He's like, well, there's an inflator kit in there. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Stick this up my ass and put, like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with this thing. What am I supposed to do with a flat tire? Like a little leak, maybe a flat tire. So he's like, well, I can give you the assistance. Did you get the extra tire protection? I'm like, I don't know. You telling me, Mr. Man at the computer. He looks it up. He goes, nope. I was like, you son of a bitch. He goes, do you want me to give you Kia's roadside assistance? I'm like, well, I'm not on the road right now, but go ahead. So, but yeah, I mean, that was wild as hell. But look, like I said, my guy John over here pulled through in the clutch and hooked it up, went to go see the Bulls. So that was my last week of 2021. How did you spend your New Year, man?
New Year's was kind of quiet. I kind of kept it quiet with, the Omicron variant going around. I didn't want to get infected with that kind of stuff. So I spent it at home, quiet, watching some shows and playing card games and having a few palomas. Got to drink that tequila, man. What about you?
Yes, sir. Hey, look, man, I brought me a flask of tequila when we were going to the Bulls game. I told you, man, I spent so much money the month of December. I was like, I I don't have a lot of money to be drinking right now, but I'm gonna bring me a flask. So I had a couple shots before we walked in, and that was cool. But yeah, I mean, like we spent the evening here playing some board games with the family, watching a little bit of college football, you know, much to the chagrin of the girls because they did not have any interest in it whatsoever. And then but we had a good time, you know, despite the fact that I wouldn't let my daughter win at any of these board games because I'm a savage and I'm trying to win. What the hell? But yeah, I mean, like, look, I spent my little 5-day vacation catching up on a little bit of sleep. I think one day I slept until 1 p.m., which is amazing. And it was, yeah. And it was really like I got up at like 6:30 and I forced myself to go back to sleep at like 8 or 9 o'clock. I'm like, I don't have to go to work. I need to sleep. I forced myself to lay down and go back to sleep. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I really didn't do much over my little 5 days, and I didn't do my laundry. I didn't clean out the closet, but look, I feel like that week between Christmas and New Year's is just meant for sitting around and not doing shit. I mean, you need a break every once in a while.
Yeah, and I agree with you. You have to do a lot of nothing here. Someone's texting me. I have pizza here. I didn't order pizza, dude. I didn't order a pizza. That is.
Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? 2022 is here, and maybe you need a fresh start. So let me tell you about our great opportunity with our friends over at ACSI. With over 50 expert technicians in the Chicagoland area, ACSI offers a one-stop shop for telecom wiring, whether residential cable installation, fiber to the home, or commercial structured cable wiring. ACSI is a proud partner of both Comcast and RCN. Let me tell you the most impressive thing about ACSI. During these hard times, the ACSI crew did their thing during the COVID-19 pandemic, and ACSI was awarded HACIA's 2020 Contractor of the Year award. The best part is that ACSI is growing bigger and better than ever. ACSI is now hiring for field sales, technicians, and project managers. Check out acsi.tech. That's acsi.tech and click on careers to apply today. ACSI is an equal opportunity employer.
Go get you a job.
Please go get a job. This week, the Bears dominate Mike Glennon and the New York Giants. We talk about the confirmed reports that Nagy is on his way out, and we look at part 3 of our head coaching candidates. We also talk about the king of the fourth with back-to-back amazing buzzer beaters by DeMar DeRozan, and we recap the college football playoff and the Notre Dame's performance in the Fiesta Bowl. And as always, stirring the pot and what you looking at. But first, this is the Big 3 with Big Z.
Thanks, C-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you're not. Now, for today's stories. All right, number 1, numero uno. And this one hits us close to the heart. ESPN Chicago Bears beat reporter Jeff Dickerson, affectionately known as JD, passes away after an 11-month battle with colon cancer. Jeff Dickerson was a fixture on ESPN and in the Chicago sports market for over 2 decades. He died Tuesday of complications from colon cancer. He was 43. In a cruel twist, Dickerson died at the same hospice care facility that his wife, Caitlin, died 2 years ago. Caitlin Dickerson had undergone treatment for melanoma and its complications for 8 years. Jeff Dickerson is survived by their son Parker and his parents, George and Sandy Dickerson.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I am a very avid listener of ESPN. I've been listening to ESPN since probably about 2006, 2007, when Salisbury and Rosenblum were on the air. I still remember the day when Waddle and Sylvie took the air, and Mac Yurko and Harry, and when I remember when Sylvie and Carmen had the late night show. And just listening, I've been listening to JD forever. I mean, he was a guy that Mac brought into the scenes. I mean, he was kind of one of these behind the scenes producer guys, like you see Adam Abdallah and guys like this now. But I mean, like, look, he was I always remember his voice, his optimism, but his also kind of like even keeled way that he talked about the Bears. If one of the hosts would talk about they're terrible, he's like, wait a minute. It's like, let's see what happens first. When the Bears signed Mike Glennon, that's exactly what he said. Or when he saw players in training camp that some people were getting excited about it, he goes, hey, let's take a step back. He's a training camp hero, so it is incredibly sad. And I remember hearing everything that was going on with his wife a couple years ago, and he always talked about his son, how proud he was of his son. He was a dad that liked to coach his son in baseball. His son also played football, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm pretty sure JD played at U of I. I mean, he was a Chicago guy, an Illinois guy through and through, and it was just really sad. And this was one of those cancer battles that wasn't public at all. No one except for his teammates that he worked with knew that he was sick, because even up until, I want to say, the Steelers game, he was in the box doing the sideline reports, and he did so much. He was on ABC. I mean, this guy. And he's only a couple years older than we are. So just to see this guy come up by his bootstraps, work his ass off, do his thing, and be so respected by not only the ESPN and the media community, but see everything, all the different teams, all the different people around the NFL, around Chicago sports that donated to the GoFundMe that was put up for his son Parker. It reached over $1 million. This young man lost both of his parents to cancer. Adam Schefter was on Twitter continuing to update people. I mean, I want to say like Jeffrey Lurie from the Eagles put up like $10,000. I mean, like everybody, a lot of the Andy Dalton, Matt Nagy, the whole Bears organization. We saw just so many people show out for this young man, and it's so sad. He's 11 years old, like my daughter, and it's just to think about this kid losing both his parents to cancer at such a young age is just devastating.
Yeah, he definitely was loved by his colleagues and everybody who listened to his voice on a weekly basis on the radio or on TV. You get to see him, and I didn't know he was that young. I thought he was a little bit older. But it just shows that he was loved by the entire NFL community and outside the NFL community because of the love and support that he's reached for his son. You can tell, like you said, it's over $1 million. That's insane. And it came within 3 days. You had the organizations coming out, reporters coming out, and then just everybody who listens, they came out and supported. I think there's also a T-shirt you can support by buying it, and 100% proceeds go to his sons and so forth. So, again, gone tragically way too soon.
Yeah, if you go to Obvious Shirts, they are giving they are selling the shirts. I want to say they have T-shirts and hoodies that just have the Bear logo on it, and it says JD. They did something similar when Sylvie from ESPN was diagnosed with cancer. They did the Sylvie Strong shirt. So if you can, I mean, go buy yourself a hoodie and just look. If you are like I said, I'm a radio nerd, especially when ESPN. I follow these careers. I'm a Chicago media nerd in general. I remember listening to or watching. Ron Majors and Carol Marine and Warner Saunders and Art Norman and all these guys from NBC back in the day, and Gian Greco and Jerry Taft and Tim Weigel. That's an old name from Channel 7. Weigel's Wieners, his funny stuff that he used to do, the bloopers at the end of the week. So I mean, like, I am a big Chicago media nerd when it comes to that type of stuff, and it's devastating, but it is great to see that so many people are stepping up for the cause, and hopefully that this young man can just continue to grow and this is what I'll say. When you lose your parents so young and it's such widely known, I hope that as he grows up and gets older, he can grow into his own person, not be overshadowed by the legacy that his parents left behind, if that makes sense, and that this experience helps him to grow to be a stronger individual and someone that can also be a charitable person and someone that helps other people. And it's just, like I said, it's because we have kids the same age, it hits me a little bit harder, but I hope the best for his parents and his son, and it's just a sad story all around.
He would be missed very much. All right, let's move on to a little bit of levity. Story number 2, your boy. Yes, I'm going to say it's your boy because, he was on your team. Antonio Brown leaves the field in the middle of the Buccaneers game versus the Jets. He strips down and then gives his peace sign to the crowd. Throws his jersey away. Antonio Brown may have said goodbye to the NFL, leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 17 in the middle of the third quarter as they trailed the New York Jets by double digits. Coach Bruce Arians said that Brown is no longer a Buck after he refused to enter the game in the third quarter, and that coaches told him to get out. Brown decided not to exit. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because this is just nuts what he's doing. He decided not to exit the
subtly.
Oh, that's how it's spelled. Wow. Brown decided not to exit subtly, taking off his pads on the sideline and giving some of his equipment to his fans. Buccaneers wide receiver then proceeded to wave his hands up in the end zone with his shirt off and exit the stadium soon after. After the game, Bucs coach Bruce Arians announced that Brown will be cut, and it looks like his NFL career is over. And you can pretty much seal that he's not going to be a Hall of Famer either.
So, Antonio Brown, he was on the when you say my boy, because you're talking about him being on the Steelers.
Yep.
He had a very good career. Him and Le'Veon Bell on the Steelers together with Roethlisberger. I always think it's a shame that they weren't able to win a title with those three, because I mean at the time you're talking about a couple of guys that are at the top of their game when you talk about the way that Le'Veon Bell was playing and the way Antonio Brown was playing at the time. But I mean, we saw him kind of bounce around. He went to the Raiders and he had the treatment on his feet with the cryo, and it kind of messed up the skin on his feet. We saw that in the Hard Knocks documentary that he was a part of. He kind of moved back and forth. He went to the Patriots for a little while. He was signed by the Patriots after Tom Brady vouching for him, and then there was some kind of weird sexual assault thing going on with him, and then they had to drop him before he even got to play a game. So he was out of the league for a while. It proved to be nonsense, someone trying to get money from him, but he clearly has some mental issues. He was, again, because Tom Brady is down in Tampa, he vouched for him again. He was able to get him on the roster, and with Godwin being injured with the ACL, he was standing in line to actually get some significant minutes at wide receiver. Mike Evans had a little bit of an injury, so that's who they were going to rely on. And it's sad because now the Bucs actually just signed Le'Veon Bell because they needed some help at running back. So now you had Le'Veon Bell and you had Antonio Brown again on the same team, and it looks like it's possible that the Bucs might go make another title run. And it's really sad to see that this guy who clearly has some issues just couldn't figure it out. There's something else going on there. He was asked to go into the game twice. They asked him to go in the game. He goes, nah. They asked him again. He goes, nope. So they says, all right, get out of here. We don't need you then. So he literally on the sidelines took off his pads and his jersey, threw him on the sideline, took off his shirt, threw it in the stands. And while the game was going on, he's literally walking across the field, walking through the end zone and out of the stadium. And they says, okay, you can't come back on the bus. So he didn't fly back to the team with the team. He's standing there with his luggage. They showed him with a suitcase and a little bag, and he's got some tight pants and these little elf boots on, and he's standing there like waiting for a ride. He got back on Twitter and he was like, he said something like gremlin mode activator, whatever it is. But Tom Brady came out and says that's obviously a difficult situation. We all love him and care about him deeply. I think everyone should be compassionate and empathetic towards some very difficult things. We don't know what he's really going through. We've talked about everything with Vincent Jackson with the CTE. We don't know. So while, it's funny to see this because you haven't seen anything like this, it's funny to see the interaction with him and everything that he's gone through in his career. We don't really know what's going on. We don't know what state he is in mentally, and I just hope that he's able to kind of overcome whatever is going on with him and go on to be a successful individual, because the behavior that he's exhibiting right now, it gives me a lot of fear that he's not going to be around much longer.
Yeah, I agree with you. We don't know what's going on. Could it have been handled a little bit differently? Yeah, he could have handled it completely differently. But again, we're not inside of his head. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if he has some type of mental issue that we were not privy to. So again, that is an issue that we will keep an eye on and stay tuned on our page for any more updates on that. All right, so let's go to story number 3. A man in a clown mask attempts to steal a jet to fly to Area 51 to see the aliens. Sounds like a great movie. Matthew Hancock, 36, was arrested on Wednesday afternoon and booked at the Clark County Detention Center on counts of communicating a bomb threat, threatening an act of terrorism, trespassing, and causing a dispersal hoax. He remains in custody according to the jail records. The multi-layered multi-layered misadventure reportedly unfolded last Wednesday evening when Hancock allegedly drove a limo through two metal fences surrounding the city's McCarran International Airport. After pulling alongside a jet on the tarmac, authorities say the man stepped out of his vehicle, put on a clown mask, and informed workers at the aircraft that he intended to blow this place up with a bomb. According to police, Hancock then inexplicably got back inside the limousine and began to drive away while the understandably alarmed airport personnel fled the scene. After telling police that there was a bomb threat in his vehicle, the man explained that he wanted to steal the jet and somehow use the journey to Area 51 to look at aliens. Dude, you're already in Vegas. You could have just drove there.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and clearly this guy was trying to make a whole lot of weird shit happen in Vegas. Hey, Area 51, you know, there is more and more evidence that there are other humanoid-like creatures or you know, life forms or whatever it is out in the universe. So, I mean, you know, we sit here and we think of these guys as crazy and weird and what the hell are you doing? But man, I don't know, man. I've seen Men in Black. So, you know, this could be that could have been a documentary. You think about some of the teachers you had back in high school and you're like, hey, what's going on under that mask, dude?
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think Men in Black is a great documentary.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is I had to put this one in here after all the weird stories and all the weird stuff that happened this last week of 2021. So I figured this would put a smile on your face and put a smile on the listener's face. This is some wild shit. I think this happened in like the middle of December, and yeah, look, you know, maybe just build your own spaceship in your backyard. Don't try to like ram your limo into Area 51. Like that's a whole different thing you're doing out there, man. All right, a couple of quick hits. Ex-Bears linebacker Barkevius Mingo was cleared of indecency with the child charges, and the ruling from the Tarrant County grand jury means that they couldn't find sufficient evidence to prosecute Mingo on the charges. Whatever that means, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. That just means that there was not enough evidence to prosecute him on the charges that were put out there. Also, former Bull Ryan Archie Diacono signed a 10-day hardship contract with the Knicks. So I always liked Arch, but you look at how good the Bulls are right now, and he just didn't have a spot. But I mean, he's one of these little scrappy little white dudes that gets in there and just throws elbows, and he had a couple of decent shots. But I mean, the Bulls had to clean house, and I'm glad that he's getting another chance, because I want to say he was on like the G League team for the Celtics at the time.
Yeah, I really like Ryan. You know, he reminded me of like a lesser Kirk Heinrich, a little bit less skilled Kirk Heinrich. You know, scrappy, will play the hard defense. He's tough, and he can make 1 or 2 shots a game. That, you know, again, it's not a big loss. We have plenty on our team right now, but and then the Barkevius Mingo, the story, all that is they can't prove that he did it. There's not enough proof that he did it. So that's what that is.
Yeah, and that could mean anything, because I know we reported about this story when it first came out. It was something weird where he climbed into bed with a child or something like that, and it's just, it's that shit makes my skin crawl. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean he didn't do it, because I'm pretty sure I still believe that OJ did it. So, you know, none of this really matters if they did it or not. But yeah.
All right, y'all. I'm Big Z, and that's news to me. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
We all know that 2020 was no joke, and with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you will be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on careers to get started. That's acsi.tech and click on careers.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah, boy.
This is The Loop, a Chicago sports roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yo, E, what's going on with the Golden Domers of Notre Dame? The Fighting Irish, baby.
Oh, man, the Marcus Freeman era did not start off on a high note as the Irish lost the Oklahoma State Cowboys in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Look, I still think it should be called the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl because it just sounds way better, but whatever. After Oklahoma State completed the largest comeback in team history, Coach Mike Gundy put his own label on a 37-35 PlayStation Fiesta Bowl victory over Notre Dame. This is clearly the biggest win in the history of the school, Gundy said. You're in a New Year's Day Bowl. You're playing Notre Dame. Biggest comeback in school history. The biggest win in the history of the school. Oklahoma State rallied from a 28-7 deficit in the second quarter to score 30 straight points. The team's previous biggest comeback was 20 points down against Colorado in 1979. If you're not familiar with Mike Gundy, here is a clip to remind you.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
So one of the biggest things about this damn game is the fact that Notre Dame had absolutely no running game. Kyron Williams declared that he wanted to go to the draft. He wanted to go to the NFL. So guess what? They had nobody. Jack Cohn was killing it. He was absolutely killing it. 509 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He attempted 68 passes. This sounds like some Matt Nagy shit right here. He was 38 for 68. Okay. The Irish were up huge and they blew it and they just could not get it together. They gave up 17 points in the third quarter. Their rushing attack, like I said, was absolutely horrendous. Their lead rusher was Logan Diggs with 9 carries for 29 yards. It was absolutely, I mean, like I can't fathom how bad, how incredibly terrible. They had a total of 42 rushing yards, 509 passing yards. Okay. Oklahoma State, 234 rushing yards. I mean, it is absolutely insane the way that they gave away the ball. Everything else was even. Okay. The time of possession was even. Total plays was 89-95. Punts 7-6, like everything except that rushing attack. And that is absolutely what killed Notre Dame in the end. And unfortunately, good for Mike Gundy. I mean, this is a dude, like you heard the clip. I mean, he's a man. He's 40. We all know that, bro. And it's good for them. They got their biggest win in school history. But I mean, it was just devastating to watch. I mean, like, man, Notre Dame's cruising. I'm watching the game. I'm having a good time. I got a couple of red stripes in me. I'm chilling. And then all of a sudden, I'm just watching it fall and fall and fall. And they end up losing by 2 points. I mean, this is just, it did not feel good. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a horrible game of emotions where you're like, oh my God, we're kicking our ass and we're gonna win a PlayStation Tostitos. Yeah, it's got a PlayStation Tostitos. Yeah, I don't know what to call it. It's always been a Tostitos Bowl for all my life. Either way, Notre Dame should have showed out and actually ran the ball. It looks like they did take a couple pages out of Matt Nagy's playbook and say, hey, we're just going to freaking throw it and not run the ball because, we don't need time of possession at all. Let's give them the ball over and over and over and over and let them catch up. Yeah, I didn't get to watch the game. That is your department on the Fighting Irish. I was over here doing my thing, cleaning this place out. But that's just disappointing, man. I mean, I understand why Kyron Williams didn't want to play. He declared he's trying to keep his stock up on being able to be drafted highly. I get that. I mean, what are the chances of someone getting hurt at a bowl game?
I mean, we've seen it. I mean, I want to say Alabama's receiver got injured like the second to last game of the season, so it's not an unheard of thing. And they tried to run the ball early in the game. They just literally were running into a brick wall every time. It just wasn't there for them. So they tried. It just wasn't happening. But unfortunately, that's how the game shook out. It was a very interesting bowl season, as a matter of fact. I mean, depending on how you see it, because there was actually a lot of barn burners, but one thing I will say was that this college football playoff was atrocious. I mean, we take a look real quick at the Cotton Bowl Classic with the number 4 Cincinnati Bearcats and the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. And you can probably just looking at those two names, you can tell who won that game, because Cincinnati could not keep up with Alabama whatsoever. Unfortunately, Cincinnati was the one team that beat Notre Dame to take away their chance at the playoff. But I mean, I don't see at this point in time. I imagine that if Kyron Williams was playing in this playoff, then he would have definitely been there playing for it. But yeah, I mean, Cincinnati just had nothing. They scored 3 in the first, 3 in the third, and that was it. And Alabama just ran up the score. Cincinnati's passing attack was just brutal. 17 for 32 on only 144 total yards. Alabama's Bryce Young, the Heisman winner, 17 for 28, 181 yards only, but 3 touchdowns. And you look at Brian Robinson Jr., 25 rushes and 198 yards. So I mean, like, Alabama absolutely dominated that game, and they are going to go on and face the winner of Georgia and Michigan from the Orange Bowl. Now, again, you look at these two names and you look at these two teams and you can probably guess who won this game, and it wasn't Michigan, because Michigan got mollywomped as well. Georgia scored 14 in the first quarter and they just did not look back. Michigan had no answers. Michigan scored a total of 11 points, and that is terrible, because we're looking at, look, I talked before about Jim Harbaugh finally getting a chance. He's playing at his alma mater. A lot of Bears fans now are like, bring in Jim Harbaugh. I'm like, he didn't really. I mean, yes, he went to a championship with the 49ers, which he did not win against his brother. He finally pulled himself up. The Wolverines went 12-2, including this game. Very good for you. But you look at the stats here. Okay, Michigan, Cade McNamara, 11 for 19. 106 yards, 2 interceptions. They bring in J.J. McCarthy, 7 for 17, 131 yards and a touchdown. But at that point, it didn't matter. You look at all of their rushing attack. They had 9 rushes with their main guy, Hassan Haskins, and 39 yards. I mean, it is ridiculous. You look at what Georgia did. Stetson Bennett, 21 for 31, 310 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then they brought in at the end Kenny McIntosh, or it was just kind of throwaway thing, and he threw a touchdown. Zamir White, 12 rushes for 54 yards. You go down the line for the rushing attack for Georgia, and they did their thing. Now, Georgia, who was number 1 forever for pretty much the whole season, went up against Alabama in the SEC championship, and Alabama won, because that's what Alabama does. So it's going to be really interesting. I want to say it's like not this Monday, but next Monday, because that's how they do it in college. Monday Night Football is over, so here's our slot. Alabama and Georgia for the rematch of the SEC championship game, but this time it's for the national championship. Nick Saban is out there. I think Alabama's going to do it again, because that's what Alabama does. I kind of want to see what Georgia does. I kind of want to see Georgia win it, because it's a little bit more interesting to see when you get a guy or a team that's not expected to win, especially when you got that rematch and stuff like that. But hey, that's kind of, I feel like when you look at these matchups, you could have predicted this easily.
Yeah, definitely. Roll Tide. That's all I'm going to say. Roll Tide. It'd be nice to have, college football in that Monday slot, and I will watch that game, and maybe put a bet or two on that. I don't know. It's going to be on Alabama for sure.
So we talked about this at the end of last year, way back when. And we talked about New Year's resolution. So I'm going to give you your own New Year's resolution. You need to start watching some of these big college football games so that you know about the players coming into the NFL draft. So when we do our draft special, you know who the hell these guys are, and not just like, well, Bob Jones sounds like a cool guy.
Just to that effect, I am in a fantasy football league with a bunch of football nerds like yourself, and they do watch a lot of college football. And guess who's in the championship game? Moi. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to be fair, if you want to talk about college football championship or fantasy football championships, I lost by just what 0.74 of 1 point. So my buddy Steve leapfrogged me and went to the championship. And remember, I told you a few weeks ago that I lost to the undefeated team by 0.4. Well, guess who's playing? Guess who lost in their playoff game too? So now the two of us are playing in for the third place winner, which is basically just getting your money back. But I want you to listen to this real quick. The guy who I'm playing against has Jamar Chase, who absolutely destroyed everything. Okay. He had like 5 touchdowns and all this stuff. The score in our game right now is 155 to 139. I have 139. I could make a comeback. I still have Nick Chubb. But I mean, this score is ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. I said, what was I say? 155 to 139. The championship game is 93 to 71. This championship should have been me and this guy in our rematch. This is ridiculous. We got screwed for 1 week and then we fell down. So you just don't know. And the funny thing is that the person who's more than likely going to win the championship is a brand new player like myself to the league, who had her boyfriend draft for her. I was at the Zoom, we were watching the Zoom. So it was just by a fluke because my buddy Steve, for some unknown reason, decided not to play Tom Brady and put in Tyler Huntley instead. He put in Tyler Huntley, and now he's about to lose a championship. And he beat me last week by the slimmest of margins. So either me or Ryan, who I'm in that third place game with, we would have blown these guys out of the water. So to me, that's the real championship.
Oh boy. Take the L like a man. It's okay, man.
No, I look, I already took the L, but I mean, what I'm saying is you look at the scores that our two teams are putting up.
Yeah.
We are clearly much better teams, and it just happened to be that weird fluky week where we both lost. So anyway, we talk about losses. Tell me what's going on at the Madhouse on Madison with the Chicago Blackhawks.
But hey, as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
Oh my God, what a segue. The Chicago Blackhawks with Mark Andre Fleury and Kevin Lankinen out with COVID-19. Jesus, you have 2 goalies out. The Blackhawks knew their goaltending situation this past Saturday would be an issue, and those concerns turned into a dire reality with a 6-1 loss to the Predators. The Predators always spank our ass anyway, so it didn't make a difference. So they're starting the 2022 calendar year on after the 2-week layoff on a sour note. I mean, it's just bad.
Hey, I had the game on the TV, right? And I'll tell you this, I got the 2 TVs out in the living room. If I would have had that on the main TV, I would have turned that fucking TV off and picked up a book. I got so many books here I haven't read yet. That was so embarrassing. I put it on the secondary TV because I want to see there was a college game or Bulls on the other TV. I put this thing on and I kind of blinked and I turned my head to pick up the remote and I look up and they were down by 1. I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I looked down again and they were down by 2. And next thing you know, it was just a blowout. So, I mean, it's hard to watch a team that's just that bad and just giving it. I mean, they switched goalies by the time the second period came in, and that didn't help at all because as soon as they put in a new goalie, they scored the Preds scored another goal. So I left it on just because I wasn't really paying attention, but that is hard to watch.
Yeah, I don't even want to go into the third and fourth goalie that they put into it because it didn't matter. 6-1 loss. It's really bad right now for the Blackhawks. I know they're trying to play it as hard as they can, but it's just really not working at the moment. And COVID's not really helping the NHL at the moment as well. Next up for the Blackhawks are the Avalanche, the Coyotes, and the Knights. And I'm guessing those are 3 losses as well.
Who cares? All right. What's going on the other side of the building with the Chicago Bulls?
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Yeah!
To save it. 1-point game, final seconds. Bulls look for the win. DeRozan to win it! Goal! DeMar DeRozan delivers! Feeds DeRozan, pump fake for the win. Got it again!
The Chicago Bulls, DeMar DeRozan hitting a buzzer-beating game-winning 3-pointer for the second consecutive night this past Saturday, leading the Bulls to a 120-119 road victory over the Washington Wizards for their 7th straight win. DeRozan, who hit the game winner this past Friday as well to defeat the Indiana Pacers, is the first NBA player in history with 2 game-winning buzzer beaters on consecutive days. Just to hit a buzzer beater in general is amazing, especially when you go and do it on the road, DeRozan said on a video call after Saturday's game. I don't know if I'm dreaming. It's real now, I guess. He added, it's just an honor to be trusted in the fourth quarter, whether things are going good or bad on my team. Teammates are always leaned on me to be calm presence to bring them home. I always bring that to a calm presence as much as I can in the fourth quarter, letting guys understand as long as we got time, we got a chance. The Bulls have continued to winning despite not having been at full strength, but should be getting some reinforcements back this coming week with Lonzo Ball and Alfonso McKinney both cleared health and safety protocols and should be on track to return for Monday, so yesterday's game, versus the Magic. So you'll see them in the next coming games as well. Coach Billy Donovan will be eligible to return from the league's protocols then as well. The Bulls have been playing shorthanded all year and still had players step up. From the starters to the bench to the coaching staff, this team is resilient to all and every adversity that's been thrown at them. It will make them a stronger team moving forward as they look to stay on top of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, right now the Bulls are 24-10. They are in a 7-game winning streak. They're 12-4 at home. They're 12-6 on the road. I mean, it is ridiculous. Look, they're better than the Bulls, the Bucks, the Heat, the Cat. They're better. They're better than everyone. And, you know, it's incredible to see what they're doing. You're talking about a team that was just constructed when you consider the fact that they had, 4 players under contract going into this season. Zach LaVine, Vooch, Kobe White, and Pat Williams. Those were the only players that were on the roster last season that are still on the roster this year. So when you see the fact that they were able to add all of these players, DeMar DeRozan was called the worst signing in the offseason, the worst signing because of what they gave him, a 33-year-old player where they gave him a 3-year deal. It's terrible. You got to be out of your damn mind. Like I said before, this is a guy that was traded for one of the best players in the NBA. Okay. We look at the fact that he came in here and he just all of a sudden became the man. I mean, we know what Zach LaVine is, but we needed him to have another scorer that had the same athletic abilities that could do what he could do. Now, one player that I do want to point out is Kobe White, because Kobe White, I've always had my doubts about him. I don't know if the year before his big afro was weighing him down. I don't know what the hell it was, but look, Kobe White has had 2 significant long stints on the DL. He was injured to start the season, and then he was out with COVID for 10 games. So, I mean, he didn't find his footing, but he has come out on fire lately. He's been popping shots. I mean, you look at Io and you look at Kobe White, and these 2 guys right here, I mean, they're just showing that they have, ice in their veins. They're coming out and playing on fire, and it is a breath of fresh air to see a team like this, to see a team that is just killing it right now. You got the king of the fourth, the guy that's the best player in the NBA when it comes to the fourth quarter. I couldn't be more thrilled to watch DeRozan. My big fear is that one of these guys is going to get injured. But when I look at the fact that they've been missing players all season, that they've had to substitute, when you had to sit there and worry about Kobe White going out, when you had to sit there and worry about the fact that Pat Williams got taken out early in the season after a dirty play from the New York Knicks, and they keep hitting you, and they keep punching you, and they keep slapping you, and they just keep coming back, and they keep coming at you, and they do not care. If you watch Bulls basketball, you will notice that a lot of the times they're up by 10 and 15 and 20 points. The game that I went to the other day with the Atlanta Hawks, I didn't even see Trae Young because I didn't care. He got his quiet 26 points or whatever the hell it was, and the rest of the team wasn't doing nothing. The Chicago Bulls, every single player on the floor is always in double digits all the time. I mean, Vooch, man, the fact that he doesn't have to be the number 2 scorer like he did have to be for them last year when they got him from Orlando, he's in it. I mean, this team right here is on fire. And the one thing that I need them to do is get bigger so that when they do go into the playoffs, they have someone. Because you look, Who do they struggle against? They struggle against the East, and guess who else they struggle against? The Indiana Pacers. They have a problem with Indiana Pacers because the Indiana Pacers are a gritty, grimy team, and Sabonis goes out there and he kicks their butt every time. So if they can find a way to snag Sabonis from that team and bring them on over, I don't see any reason why they can't take it.
No, I agree with you. Now, the issue is being a big man. They don't have big man that would be on the boards, and that was the issue with the Indiana Pacers. They were getting out-rebounded, and that was a huge issue in transition. Again, I agree with you with the Io, however you want to pronounce his name. Io, you're right. Io and Kobe White. Kobe White has always been a shooting guard. He reminds me a lot of Ben Gordon. He can get hot really quick. He can spot up from anywhere, and he can shoot it. He's not going to be one of the guys driving down the lane. That's Io. Io is a fearless Derrick Rose, Chicago mentality. I'm going to go to the hole, and either I'm going to make the basket, make you look stupid, or you're going to foul me, and guess what? I can hit 2 free throws. You got Lonzo coming back. You got Caruso coming back. You got a bunch of these guys, reinforcements coming back, and guess what? We were at half strength for a good month. When we're at full strength, and all these guys, now that they have confidence in playing time, look out. I still think we need a move for a big guy, though.
Yeah, and that's why I'd like to see them try to see what they can do to go after Sabonis. I mean, this is a guy, he's only 25. Don't forget that Vucci, man, is about 30, 31 years old. So you look at Sabonis, he has that bloodline, okay? His dad is Arvydas Sabonis, who we know was a beast for a long time, a first-round pick. So you look at a guy like his son, what is his name? Domantas Sabonis.
Right.
He's a beast. He's 6'11". He's only 25. Like I said, he is just the type of player that they should go after, because I think now when you look at the end of the bench and the fact that they've been able to fill some slots, you can afford to trade someone like Pat Williams. You might not want to, number 4 overall pick. And what did I say last year? I said, the key to the Bulls, at least for last season, was what happened with Pat Williams. Does he become a star? Now, one funny thing that did happen this week, we saw 2 former Bulls get traded for one another. Rajon Rondo got sent over to the Cavaliers for Denzel Valentine. Denzel Valentine is still in the league, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know. And he got traded because Ricky Rubio went out with an ACL. So the Cavs were actually doing well. It'll be interesting to see Rondo play with Lauri Markkanen again.
I love,
because Lauri's actually been doing pretty decent in Cleveland. But yeah, I mean, we look at this team. I feel very confident. This is the most excited that I've been to watch Bulls basketball since the Derrick Rose era, and I've said that before. I think that every time someone mentions the Bulls, your ears poke up, because whether you were around for the Jordan years or not, you remember that happened. You knew that the best player of all time played for the Chicago Bulls. And if you're a fan of Chicago sports, you're looking out for the Bulls. There's no division. There's no Cubs or White Sox. The Bears have their own division because you're looking at what's going on with Matt Nagy versus Andy Dalton and Justin Fields and blah, blah, blah. You got all type of animosity when you talk about the Chicago Bears. But right now, when you look at the Chicago Bulls, everyone's excited.
Yeah, the Chicago Bulls are very exciting, and I can't wait to get to one of the games this year. Lucky bastard, you went to one.
Hey, I got, look, after how weird last year was, I was able to cap it off the right way. So again, shout out to my boy Chris, aka Jubs, and he was actually at the Bears game today.
Wow, lucky bastard. All right, fans, let's take a pause for the cause, and we'll be right back with some Bears talk after a quick word from our sponsors.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some football? This is 3 and Out.
All right, E. The Bears are on a hot streak, winning their second game in a row.
Yeah, that's right, Z. The Bears faced their former quarterback, Mike Glennon, the first giraffe to ever play in the NFL, and immediately whooped his ass with a sack fumble. They scored a touchdown soon after and never looked back en route to a 29-3 drubbing of the New York Football Giants. Running back Saquon Barkley returned to the scene where he blew out his ACL last year in week 2, and he managed to run for 102 yards, but he really hasn't been the same since that injury. Despite the score, the highlight of the game was definitely Robert Quinn, who broke Richard Dent's Bears single season sack record, getting his 18th sack of the season. Now, he was able to do it in 16 games, keeping the integrity of the record intact. And what I mean by that is because the Richard Dent did it in the 16 games, and now that we have 17, that's what I mean if you get it. Anyway, the record was broken in the fourth quarter with a sack on Glennon. And funny enough, he also once broke the Rams single season record by sacking Mike Glennon. The Bears awesome. Finish up the season next weekend in Minnesota against the Vikings, and we're going to see if Kirk Cousins will be back from the COVID protocols, as he is out this week because he's not vaccinated. You big dummy.
You big dummy. I mean, this was awesome to see a record of that magnitude being broken. He did it in 16 games, so there's no asterisks like they do in baseball for all the different records. Super excited that he broke it against Mike Glennon, and the fact that you just gave me a nugget that he did it again versus Mike Glennon is amazing. So I think Mike Glennon's neck is going to keep growing for all the records that are being broken on him.
So one of the things that we saw this week was the meme of the chart of all the winnings or all the earnings that Mike Glennon has had throughout the league in his career, and they just put a new ring on his neck. He looks like he looks like one of those National Geographic photos of the ladies in Africa who put all the rings around their neck, and it just gets longer and longer. So yeah, I mean, look, Mike Glennon is terrible. Someone on Facebook said something about like, are the Giants trying to tank because they were running the ball when they were down by like 26? I'm like, what's the difference? What is the difference? Are you trying to tank? Well, let's consider the fact that you started Mike Glennon at quarterback. I think that right there is a very clear indicator that you're not going to win the game and you have no chance to win the game. So, yeah, I mean, look, it was nice. The one thing I will say about this score, when we talked a little bit earlier about JD, whenever he gave his predictions for game scores, he always gave this off number. It was always like, 20, 23 to like 16 or like these weird numbers. And the Bears went ahead and scored 29 points, which is a very weird number. And the Bears did a very nice thing too. They did a little tribute before the game to JD and also John Madden. We'll talk about a little bit later. And they also set up a spot in the media booth for him with his photos and his media guide and all that stuff. So, I think it's well known that JD was loved in the Bears locker room, in the media, in the press box, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, at this point, I think we know what the Bears are, what they could have been, what their potential is. We saw Andy Dalton start the game with Fields still out with an injury. I saw people complaining that Nick Foles wasn't starting this game. Who cares? I mean, Nick Foles, I feel like whoever was clamoring, because last week we saw a lot of people saying they should have started Nick Foles the whole season. Did you not watch Nick Foles last year when he sucked? I mean, it's terrible. Just like you always say, he is a microwave. He'll get warm, he'll get in there and do his thing, and that's about it. Now, speaking of Nick Foles, this week we've seen confirmation from several sources that Matt Nagy will indeed be let go after next week's game against the Vikings. So we continue to look at the head coaching candidates, and this week we look at the man who took the Philadelphia Eagles to their only Super Bowl win, and Doug Peterson, and he did that with Nick Foles. Peterson was at the helm when the Eagles won the Super Bowl over the Patriots in 2017. Like I said, with our very familiar quarterback, Nick Foles. And it's interesting to see what he did there and why he left that team. I'm looking at a couple of things Ian Rappaport put on Twitter in last January, and he says, after speaking with two people close to former Eagles coach Doug Peterson, it sounds like this is what it boiled down to. Peterson was sick of people telling him what to do. Okay. So you kind of look at some of the stuff that came out after he got fired. And I've seen a lot of people, Bears fans, not be on board with the fact that Doug Peterson would be considering the fact that he left the team and he was fired. Now, this comes from sports mockery, so take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But one of the things that a lot of people are saying is that on the surface, the firing looks more like a matter of Peterson putting his foot down as it pertains to being told what to do by Jeffrey Lurie and Roseman. The firing of Peterson comes amid reports that he wanted to say in who he hired to be his assistants and who he wanted to retain, but Lurie wouldn't allow that to happen. Specifically, Peterson wanted to make Press Taylor his offensive coordinator after a year spent as the passing game coordinator / quarterbacks coach. Last year, he wanted to bring back Mike Groh as his offensive coordinator and even told reporters that Groh would return. A day later, Groh was fired and Peterson was hung out to dry, saying he had changed his mind when it was later learned the directive from Lurie was to fire Groh. Now, we've seen this before where the coach doesn't have autonomy as far as being able to hire his own people. Okay, we actually saw some of that with Ryan Pace when he came in, and he was told that I think it was John Fox was going to have to be his coach. He was told that John Fox was going to be his coach. So we've seen the power taken away from these GMs and these coaches before. And like I said, this guy right here, he will bring some credibility to the Bears. We've talked about before, do we want a guy that has not been a head coach, has not had any success in the NFL as a head coach to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears, or do we want to go with another guy that has an unproven track record? You look at Peterson's head coaching record in the regular season. He has a .531 record, going 42-37-1. His postseason is .667 with a 4-2, and his overall career is 46-39-1. That gives you a .541 average. So he coached for 5 seasons in Philly, and a lot of people said that his Super Bowl win was a fluke, but isn't that exactly what the Bears do every 5 years or so? They get a little bit hot, they pull some miracle season out of their ass to win the North, and it's usually because Aaron Rodgers is injured, and then they lose in the first round of the playoffs. And this is very, very familiar for Bears territory. So when you consider that, Z, what do you think about the Bears going after the former Super Bowl winning coach?
Man, for me, it's hard to say. Hiring a former Super Bowl winning coach is the wrong thing to do. It's hard to say that. But to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about Peterson as a Bears head coach. Some fans may be upset and consider this hire to be another Andy Reid retread. But Peterson is much more accomplished than Nagy in every single way. Peterson ran an official offense, and he even had Carson Wentz playing like an MVP at some point. Overall, I think Peterson would be a good hire and certainly an upgrade over Nagy. However, I feel that the organization may want to do a complete 180 what they just did over the last 4 years. I think he'd be a good fit. I just don't think that that's the way the Bears are going to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of Bears fans would be upset at them draft or signing him, because we've already seen that already. We've seen people talk about that, and then they says, well, he failed there and he did this. But I think what we're coming down to is the fact that we're seeing that he was hamstrung by the ownership and by the GM, and that he wasn't allowed to make his own decisions. Now, I think we've seen with at least Ryan Pace at the helm that he is willing to work with his coach to come up with a plan to develop it. And like I said before, I don't think that Nagy is a bad coach. I think his big mistake was not being able to delegate when he needed to, because the big thing with Matt Nagy is that he needed to be able to delegate the play calling, and he started to do that at the end of the last year, and then when it came to this year, he decided to take it back. So there was that's where a lot of the mistakes when it comes to Matt Nagy came down to. It was the fact that he just was so stubborn that he wanted to do this and he wanted to do that. And I get what he's trying to do, but a big part of being a leader of men is being able to delegate and knowing how to get the most out of your team. Because I will say this, when Matt Nagy came to the team after everything that went on with John Fox and Mark Trestman, he developed a good culture here. I mean, you can say whatever you want, you can make fun of it about Club Dub, but these players, even to this day, play hard for Matt Nagy. They respect him, except for Nick Foles. Nick Foles hates Matt Nagy, and we know that. That's probably why he benched his ass today. So, but look, I wouldn't be upset about this. I think that when you look at the way that he was able to lead Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz at one point was considered to be an MVP candidate, but he just could not stay healthy, and that was the biggest thing. A lot of people are saying that the Bears, if they went after Peterson, they should hold on to Nick Foles as your backup or whatever it is. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think that Andy Dalton's going to be here next year. I think Andy Dalton will go somewhere else. I think Andy Dalton has been a fine backup. I don't think he's done bad things here. He's just not what he used to be. And he, at the very least, he was able to run some of the plays that they had originally designed for Justin Fields, because he does have some quickness. He has some ability. And I think when we look at Justin Fields, the big thing is that we want him to work on his timing in the pocket and know when it's time to let go of the ball, when it's time to throw the ball, and when it's time to run. And I think that having Nick Foles around helps him do that, because Nick Foles cannot move, but he does have good timing in the pocket. He's just not, he doesn't have the arm. He doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have the mobility that Justin Fields has. But I think as a guy that can help you develop in your future, Nick Foles could be valuable with that. And a guy like Peterson in that role, he can also assist with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me go backwards on that one from everything you just said. Nick Foles is a good backup. Let's just put it out there. He is a very good backup. He will run the offense because he knows the inside and out. That's why he got into it with Nagy, because he slowed him down. He's like, no, I'm in a groove with the offense. The ball is moving. Stop slowing me down. That was the issue. He can call the plays. If it's the playbook and it's on his arm, he's still calling Matt Nagy's plays. They're just not in Matt Nagy's order. So guess what? Fuck you, Nagy. Let the quarterback do it. He's a proven commodity. He can fucking move the ball down. Simple as that. Now for Justin Fields, I agree with you. He needs to learn when to throw to the first read, to the second read, to the third read, when to throw it away, when to tuck and run. That's all going to be learned with experience. That we've all said that since the beginning of the Bear season, that we want to see the kid get experience. That put to the side. Now we're looking at Doug Peterson. He would be a good coach if he would be allowed to do what he needs to do and say, here's your autonomy, you get your coaches, and do you. Now, make sure that you delegate. And I think that Peterson was trying to do that with having all these coaches under him saying, hey, you're responsible for the offense, you're responsible for special teams, your quarterback's coach, all that stuff. He just wasn't allowed in Philadelphia. Also, Philadelphia had Carson Wentz at a young age. And then as these guys kept getting hurt, the rest of the offensive line, the defensive players, they all started aging out. So they're all hurt. Or you had, like right now with the Bears, you have second and third backups. So that's what happened to Philadelphia. And if you can't make any personnel moves, because obviously he's not the GM, he doesn't have any power, he can't put his own coaches in there, he threw his arms out. He's like, I can't do anything. What do you want me to do? That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, too, is that when you look at what's going on with the Bears right now, I think that one of the biggest concerns as far as I'm concerned is if you bring in a guy like Doug Peterson, who is definitely going to want to pick his own coaches, you got a guy like Sean Desai, who is in his first year as a defensive coordinator, and he's doing a damn good job, because you look at how much more improved this defense has been overall. I mean, yes, they've struggled against some of these really high-powered offenses when they played the Bucs and when they play the Packers. But I mean, overall, they've done a very good job. I mean, like I said, you look at a guy like Robert Quinn, who had a terrible season last year. You bring in your new defensive coordinator, and he breaks the single-season sack record. Okay, that was held by Richard Dent, the MVP of the '85 Bears in the '85 Super Bowl. So, I mean, I think the big concern with me there is him not retaining Sean Desai. Sean Desai was hired by Mark Trestman. That's how long he's been with the organization. He's a young guy. He's either mid 30s or late 30s. He's come into his own. He's a disciple of what Fangio did, and here's the thing too, is that there is a lot of a lot of rumors out there that Fangio is on his way out too. So I mean, that's another guy that you could bring back into the fold, but I think right now Sean Desai, this is his time to be a defensive coordinator. And if you bring in a guy that had trouble before, not trusting management and not allowing him to pick his own coaches, you're going to have a hard time letting go of a guy like Sean Desai unless Peterson looks at him and says, you know what, I see what you're doing here. I see the way that you work with this team, because we know that Doug Peterson is an offensive guy. So I don't think he's going to sit there and try to dip his fingers into the defense so much. But that would be my big concern. Again, you're still looking at more than likely Ryan Pace getting kicked up a role, so he's no longer the GM, but he does have some say into the way that they pick their players and things like that. Who is going to be your GM? Is it going to be Ryan Pace still, or is it going to be a different guy? We really don't know. I think that Ryan Pace is safe because he'll still have some capacity with the Chicago Bears, and I wouldn't mind seeing Doug Peterson with the Chicago Bears as their head coach. I think it would be, when we look at the fact that we've always kind of clamored about the fact that we want someone with experience. Yes, he's played in the NFL. He has 5 years experience as a head coach. He's won a Super Bowl with a team that never won a Super Bowl before. They've been, but they never won a Super Bowl, and they were able to overcome it. You already have a couple of guys in place. Nick Foles right there to be your quarterback, third string, assistant coach, whatever it is. And this is a guy that has enough experience and enough knowledge to know how to delegate with the people that he put into that role. I think that would be the biggest struggle, is who will be his coordinators. And here's the thing. The Bears are not the only team sniffing around Doug Peterson. Okay. The Jags are definitely going to make a push for him. Okay. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence, you got your choice: rookie quarterback, team that no one cares about. Who cares about the Jaguars? They're this baby franchise. Nobody cares about the Jags. Or historic franchise. Rookie quarterback, either way. So he has a big decision to make, and it really just depends on who he's feeling more, what kind of control he has in the different situations. And, I think he would be a good candidate. I think they could definitely hire worse coaches for that role.
No, I agree with you. They can hire worse coaches. I mean, we've had them with Mark Trestman and Nagy right now. But I think that Peterson would fill in the role, especially because he was in the division. He played quarterback under Brett Favre with the Green Bay Packers, and he played for a couple other teams. But he was a backup, and he knows the black and blue division. He understands the rivalry. He understands that for the Chicago Bears, our number one goal is to beat the Packers, win the division, and then obviously win the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we haven't done that in a long time. So if Peterson does get picked up by the Bears, I agree. He's going to put in his own people, and then you have Desai, a hot coordinator, probably going to go somewhere else and be a coordinator for a couple more years until he blossoms, and then he'll be a head coach. So I think that you could lose great personnel because you do bring in Peterson. I don't think Peterson is going to go to the Jaguars. I think Brian Leftwich is going to be the number one candidate there because he played there, and he's a hot commodity right now.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about Byron Leftwich a little bit later, but is he good because he's good, or is he good because he's the coordinator of Tom Brady right now?
Brian Leftwich was your coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well.
Okay.
Well, you had good offense at that point.
Okay, I mean, the Steelers go in and out of good offense. You know what I mean? That's. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan aside from the Bears. That's my backup team. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that I'm not against Peterson as the head coach. That's what I'll put on that.
Yeah, I'm not against it either. I just don't think the Bears would be that. I think that's not the route they're going to be going to. They're going to go for a guy that's, I don't know, has more name recognition. That's what I think.
Oh, over Doug Peterson?
That's what I just said.
Who? I mean, okay.
We'll see who's available at this moment.
That's what I'm saying. Because you can start talking to coordinators, but you look who else is out there right now that has won a Super Bowl, that knows what it takes, that knows about those little things that you have to, the little hurdles you have to overcome to get to a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl with a backup that wears cement shoes. Okay? Hey, you could do worse.
We could do worse. All right, fans, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
We all know that 2020 was no joke. And with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you will be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on careers to get started. That's acsi.tech and click on careers.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah, boy.
It's that time again, brother.
Uh-oh.
You know what time it is.
Oh, boy.
It's time for Stirring the Pot. All right. What do you got for us this week, brother?
All right, man. So this has been a bit of a debate at work. My guy Pablo, who I work with, he's Mexican, and his wife is Polish. So, you know, they have a very eclectic food choices in their house. And one food that we've debated a few times is pierogies. So my question to you is yay or nay on pierogies?
All right. So, oh man, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with yeah.
Do you know what pierogies are?
Yeah. They're like dumplings. Yeah. Dude, I have like the biggest pierogi place, Kaisa's, right down the block. And I actually, funny enough, I've never been in there. I mean, I've had them from there, but I've never actually walked in there. And they're 3 blocks down. Yeah, I'm going to go with pierogies. I mean, there's different type of pierogies you can put in there, you know, like, what is it, cabbage or potato or meat, whatever. But I mean, I probably have it maybe once or twice a year, but I'm down with pierogies. What's up? What about you?
I had pierogies while I was writing the show today. Yeah, man. I went to Jewel, and I forget the brand that they have. And you know, these are just the frozen ones or whatever. And it was a cheddar and jalapeno one, which was really good. And then you get potato, you get the ones with cabbage, you get the ones with the pork, you get the ones with the cheese and all this stuff. And I had a buddy of mine who, funny enough, he was Polish, but we called him Mojito. And his mom, oh my God, his mom would make like homemade pierogies, and them things are fire. But so I'll tell you what, Pablo, you're wrong, because he hates pierogies. He's like, they're gross. And I was like, dude, it's just Polish dumplings. Like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. They're delicious. You put a little bit of butter in the pan, you let them cook up, and then you dip them in some sour cream. And I don't know, man. I think there's something wrong with that guy.
First of all, anybody's dumplings, doesn't matter what nationality, what food, cuisine, everybody's dumplings are awesome. Everybody likes to dip their dumplings into something and then eat them. Dumplings are awesome. Let's just put it out there, man. We're not going to disagree on that ever.
So what you're saying is, once again, I am right, ladies and gentlemen. My question gave us 2 yeses, and that's the way you start off the new year, by acknowledging the champ once again. That's how it goes. I love it, man.
It feels like it's 2020 all over again. 2022. Here we go.
Oh yeah, 2020 part 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I always talked about 2021 being the B side of 2020. Well, this is like the double album. So we're on C side right now, because I don't know what the hell's going to happen this year. Anyway, before we go, what you looking at? What are you watching that isn't sports?
Oh boy, I got some stuff for you, man. This week, man, since I'm off, I've been binging Billions. This is because my boy gave me his Showtime. Oh yeah, so I get to watch Billions with. It's got the Tara from Sons of Anarchy. It's got Paul Giamatti. It's got a bunch of actors that you've seen in different shows interacting with each other. So it's a lot about corporate and stocks and shorts and mergers and all types of, white collar crime and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting to me, especially with what's going on in today's world. So I think I'm on season 4 already. It's pretty interesting. I can't stop watching. Another movie that I ended up watching because of your recommendation was Don't Look Up. Yeah, Don't Look Up. It was one of those movies where you're laughing at what's going on and you're like, how can people be this stupid? But it's a microcosm of today's society, that you guys value fucking likes and fucking views over fucking real science. It's as simple as that. How about we follow the scientists so we don't fucking die? Simple as that. Moving on. Next thing I watched was Encanto on Disney. I'm almost done with
this. Means time out. I'm sorry. Pay attention, you fuck. Do I get a chance to talk about the movies that you're talking about, or you just want to run through them like crazy? Is that how we're gonna do this? I mean,
sorry. The screen's up here, so it throws me off now.
You need to fix it. You need it. Look, this is a sports show, and I'm literally on the Zoom call giving you a timeout signal, and this motherfucker's like, "Well, fuck that. We're gonna keep going." Jesus,
I'm not cutting this out. This is just gold.
I talked about Don't Look Up a little bit last week, and I actually watched it again, and it was funny because I was telling my wife that as I watched it again, I knew what was going to happen, but at the end I still got very tense. I was like, oh my god, what's gonna? So it was ridiculous. Billions, it sounds like something that you're gonna have to hook me with a password for, because I got the HBO thanks to Gigantor, but I don't have the Showtime, so that might be a show that if I do watch it again, I'll watch 3 episodes, forget it's on, and never watch it again.
Oh boy. Yeah, you'll like Billions. I think you really like it. It has to do with a lot with law and fucking corporate shit, and the world I've been into, so I understand it. Don't Look Up, agreed. Like, it's one of those movies you're gonna watch again, and you're gonna be frustrated and laugh at the same time, and then frustrated again. And it's just like, how are people so stupid? And then you see Jeff Bezos fucking frozen in time in fucking some other galaxy, and then he gets eaten by some velociraptor.
Can you guess what administration that White House was based on? Let's take a wild guess.
I don't know. Starts with a T, ends with a P. And also a couple of things that have come out this week, and I'm gonna get on it as soon as we finish recording the show, and that's gonna be Cobra Kai, because I'm a Karate Kid nerd, and the book of Boba Fett, which just started this week as well on Disney. Those are 2 things that go back to my childhood that I need to watch, and I will report back next week. So E, what you watching?
So I watched a couple of things. I watched a kids movie this week, was Encanto, which was really good. It was a Colombian about a Colombian family, and they all have different talents that are pretty amazing. I was kind of confused by the end. I still don't know what exactly happened there, but it was a very good movie. It was one of those, just kind of be yourself and learn how to be yourself and stop worrying about what other people think of you. That was a great message. And in classic Disney fashion, someone died to start the story off, and that's how they go.
Spoiler alert.
Oh well. And anyway, Cobra Kai, I started watching it again last night. I thought that I had been watching this with my daughter, because as I watch it, it is so corny. This show is so corny.
Very corny. It's geared to kids. It's
so corny, but I can't stop watching, just because at this point I want to know what happens. It's fun to see 60-year-old Daniel-san trying to do karate with his weird slumped over shoulders. He always looks like he's out of breath. But yeah, and then also I've been watching this show called Arcane on Netflix. It's based on some of the characters from League of Legends. It is technically an anime. It is so beautifully done. It might be the best show on Netflix this year. And I got into it because my daughter kept bugging. He's like, "Oh, you gotta watch it. Let's watch this." So I said, okay. So she was all about it. There's a couple of shows that we watched together. That one, Umbrella Academy, Stranger Things. So those are our shows that we watched together. And if you haven't seen Arcane, you don't need to play the game or understand the game or anything like that to know, because I don't know anything about League of Legends, but it is a very, very good show. And then, like I said, I watched Don't Look Up again. But the other movie that I watched, I took my daughter. We went yesterday, actually, on New Year's Day. Spider-Man No Way Home. Holy shit. What a great movie. Spoiler alert. I'm going to give you 2 seconds. 1, 2. We're going to talk about the movie. Dude.
Yes.
What? Toby. What? Toby. I was like, oh shit, it's Toby. And my daughter's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, hold on.
Oh no.
Before all the MCU, before all this stuff, before when Sony still got rights to Spider-Man, but all this shit, Tobey Maguire, I remember being so geeked. I think I still have like the novelization of the movie of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. And yeah, I look, all the people coming back, the way everything went. It was so good. It's literally 2.5 hour movie that did not feel like 2.5 hours.
It was one of those great movies because me and you, well, yeah, we're both nerds. Let's just be honest. We're nerds on different avenues, but I'm all about the comic book movies, from the X-Men's to the Sony pictures of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Fours. I've seen them all, good, bad, and ugly, except for the Garfying ones. I didn't. I was like, if it's not Tobey Maguire, I do not want to watch Spider-Man, because Tobey's my Spider-Man.
Garfield?
Yeah, Garfield. I was like, I didn't really care for it. I'll probably watch it at some point. But that movie was amazing. It was a great story. It continued the entire Sony cinematic experience with bringing in the Marvel touches to it, and it made it much better. It was a great flick. It had a great story with the love story. And if I do this, I fuck up. He brought in Doctor Strange, which tied in the Marvel aspect and leading it on. And if you didn't stay at the end of the movie, there was 2 post-credit scenes. Hopefully you saw both of them, because one was bringing in Venom, which is going to be a major player coming into the Marvel universe. And you also have Doctor Strange approaching the witch.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Scarlet Witch, yeah.
Scarlet Witch, yeah. So that's going to be huge, because that kicks off the next movie, which is the Doctor Strange movie coming out at the beginning of March.
But it also brings back the multiverse.
Oh yeah, the multiverse was established.
That's why this was so important to have Doctor Strange, to have the crossover. So now you bring in Wanda, because after all the WandaVision stuff, and you sat there, and now you bring in Venom and trying to figure out where that's going to go. But now you have Doctor Strange as part of the multiverse too. I think once we saw Avengers Endgame, I think a lot of people was like, well, what else can you do from here? They're going, baby. They're going, because they don't have to rely on Iron Man anymore. They don't have to rely on the Avengers as a whole anymore. Now you're starting to develop, and they've been doing a good job, because they still have, was it Shang-Chi or whatever it was, and that they released on Disney. I still got to watch that one.
That's great.
But they're introducing all these different Marvel characters, and I will say this. I can't thank Stan Lee enough for bringing all these beautiful, like, interesting, damaged and flawed and amazing characters to us as we watch them develop and change and the multiverse, and it is just so cool. And it's so cool to actually see them, because I think back in the day they tried to do some of this stuff live action, but they just did not have the technology. And now that you do, and you're able to accomplish this, it is absolutely amazing. You know what's funny? One thing I saw the trailer for was the new Buzz Lightyear movie. That looks like it might be actually good.
Yeah, Channing Tatum. Is it Channing Tatum? Is the new Buzz Lightyear?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it was him. There was another movie. So check this out. There was actually some of the other previews that we saw. It was one called Ambulance, which was Jake Gyllenhaal and someone else, and they basically take an ambulance for hostage or some shit like that. But and then they had another movie with Channing Tatum where he has to, like, bring this this dog across country or whatever, and it's called Dog. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked at my daughter. I was like, is this literally 2 movies, and one called Ambulance and one called Dog, and one's about a dog and one's about an ambulance? Are they literally running, not just movie ideas, they're running out of names for movies?
Like, come watch this movie. What is it called? Movie.
God.
Yeah. I know you're not caught up with the universe yet. I know you haven't watched all the shows on Disney Plus, but Low Key is the one that kicks off the multi-universe. If you watch the entire thing, and then it ties into WandaVision, and now it ties into Doctor Strange, and especially with a Sony movie with Spider-Man No Way Home. That all ties in together, and right now, Marvel nerds are literally wetting their pants right now because they can't wait for the next movie. So it is exciting to be a Marvel fan because what we have now coming up is the revival of the X-Men franchise. Because of the multi-universe, now they can acknowledge all the movies from Fox that that they did with, you know, the different variations of Professor X and the different variations of this. Now you can fit it in there and it makes perfect sense. Before, people were like, oh my God, the X-Men timeline's all fucked up. And it was, but it's fixed now.
Yeah, the other franchise that they had mixed up a bit was Hulk as well. They had to fix Hulk, so you saw them with Mark Ruffalo and Ed Norton at one point and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I completely forgot about Loki, man. I got to go back and watch that. That's definitely on the list. But yeah, I mean, hey, just the way that your favorite comic character is Batman. Mine is definitely Spider-Man, man. I love Spider-Man. I honestly, I don't know what kicked that off, but I mean, like, I literally have all the little. I still have a bunch of little figures and stuff like that. I remember in kindergarten I had the
lunchbox,
the Halloween costume with remember the vinyl Halloween costume where like if you had to take a leak you had to rip that thing off of you because it had the tie in the back with the little plastic mask, and every costume was exactly the same. It was just different things printed on it, and we're probably inhaling like the worst chemicals of plastic ever, but I mean it was the best costume with the mask with the one little string that goes around the back of your head. That was the best, man. But that was me. That was Spider-Man, man. I don't know why, but I love Spider-Man and He-Man were my two characters when I was a kid. So I'm looking forward to what they continue to do. I still haven't. I got to go back and watch the Venom movies. I have not seen any of those yet.
Yeah, I agree. I still have to watch, I think, the second Venom movie, and I still haven't seen Eternals yet. So those are my two movies to watch. Again, with the Marvel Universe, you can go back and watch it all on Disney Plus and go from either cinematic or when it was released cinematically or through the timeline, which is amazing. I like going through the timeline because it makes a little bit more sense that way for me. But yeah, to your thing, like Batman is for DC for me, and then for Marvel, it's always been Wolverine. I've always been a Wolverine fan. So.
Yeah. I like Wolverine too. But it's just something about Spider-Man. I don't know, man. It always caught my attention. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of good movies this upcoming year because I've gotten to the point where I get sick of watching TV shows. And like I said before, once the movie's over, I know what happened and I can wait for another movie in a couple of years, or I can just don't care anymore. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for today, man. I think we talked about enough stuff.
I think we did talk about enough stuff. We had enough good content.
All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That's TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts right now. And don't forget to check out our friends over at ACSI.tech and check out the career section to start an exciting new career in the communications industry. Go to ACSI.tech. That's ACSI.tech and click on careers to apply today and get your 2022 started off right. Shout out to our friends at the Some of This and Some of That podcast with Coach Mo and Justice. All episodes are available on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to check out the Shy Native Radio podcast, now available on all major platforms. Mike Logic, Ideal, and Throw MC talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. Check them out right now. And do not sleep. Speaking of Mike Logic, his new album, as I was saying, is now available. Check out mikelogic.bandcamp.com, miclogik.bandcamp.com, and get your copy right now. And the brand new music video for his new single, So Low, is now available to watch on YouTube. MICLOGIK, Logic with a K is back, mikelogic.bandcamp.com. Go and check him out right now. Shout out to Ronesh, Panic, Serious Beats, and Custom Made for the beats we play on today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for all your Moment merch and gear. And make sure you check out PRODbyserious.com, PRODbyserious.com to check out Serious Beats, and also beatsbycustom.com to check out Custom Made, beatsbycustom.com. Don't forget to check us out on social media. You can find us at True Chi Fans on Twitter. That's at True CHI Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and reach out to us. Hit the DMs with your stirring the pot ideas, your movie recommendations, your music recommendations, and just tell us what you think about the show. Don't forget, you can always find us at True Chicago Sports Fans at gmail.com. Before we get out of here, we'd like to pay tribute to a few absolute legends who passed away this week. First off, on the football side, two tremendous influences the NFL passed, John Madden and Dan Reeves.
We all know the Madden name from extremely popular video game franchise, and of course his decades-long partnership with his broadcast partner, Pat Summerall. Madden was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders of the National Football League for 10 seasons and guided them to a championship in Super Bowl 11. Thanks for putting that in there. I knew what it was. I'm just made you laugh. 3 days before his death, he had a simple request. According to Sidney Henderson of USA Today Sports, the legendary NFL coach and broadcaster wanted to watch Fox Sports documentary on him entitled All Madden. Of course, his wish was granted, and he watched it surrounded by his family and friends on Christmas Day. The world also lost Dan Reeves, a former Dallas Cowboy running back who as a coach guided teams to 4 Super Bowls, although he lost them all. He died this past Saturday at his home in Atlanta. He was 77, the cause of complications of dementia, according to the family statement.
Yeah, if 2021 didn't break our hearts enough, on New Year's Eve, the world of entertainment lost an icon. Betty White, just 3 weeks shy of her 100th birthday, passed away at the age of 99 of natural causes. She had the longest television career of any female entertainer. Although she has an incredible film and TV resume, including parts in The Proposal and Boston Legal, she's best known for her roles as Sue Ann Nivens on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and as Rose Nyland in The Golden Girls. Betty was also recognized for her esteemed career, taking home 8 Emmy Awards, a Grammy Award, 3 American Comedy Awards, and 3 Screen Actor Guild Awards. One of my favorite performances of hers was when she hosted SNL back in 2010 with musical guest Jay-Z. Let's take a listen to her monologue.
Ladies and gentlemen, Betty White.
Saturday Night Live. I'm not sure many of you know that I'm 8.5 years old, so it's great to be here for a number of reasons. You know, I'm not new to live TV. In 1952, I started my first live sitcom, which was Life of Elizabeth, and of course back then we didn't want to do it live. We just didn't know how to tape things. So I don't know what this show's excuse is. You know, I have so many people to thank for being here. but I really have to thank Facebook. When I first heard about the campaign to get me to host Saturday Night Live, I didn't know what Facebook was. And now that I do know what it is, I have to say, it sounds like a huge waste of time. I would never say that people on it are losers, but that's only because I'm polite. People say, but Betty, Facebook is a great way to connect with old friends. Well, at my age, if I want to connect with old friends, I need a Ouija board. Needless to say, we didn't have Facebook when I was growing up. We had phone book, but you wouldn't waste an afternoon on it. Facebook just sounds like a drag. In my day, seeing pictures of people's vacations was considered a punishment. And when we were kids, we didn't say we were single. We were just kids. It was weird if you weren't single. Yes, we had poking, but it wasn't something you did on a computer. It was something you did on a hayride. Under a blanket. Oh, sorry. Things were a lot different when I was growing up. My father, Horace, was a traveling salesman who moved our family to California during the Great Depression. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you only read about in novels. And to think I've lived through a world war, worked on radio and films, on Mary Tyler Moore and the Golden Girls. And now I'm here tonight because you wanted me to be. I really just want to say I feel so loved. Thank you. If I could, I would take you all on a big hayride. Starting with you, sir. No, not you. You. Guess what? Jay-Z is here. And if I had a dime for every time I've said that, I'd have one dime, which wasn't anything to shake a stick at in my day. We have a great show for you tonight, so stick around, and we'll be right back.
These three icons will be sorely missed. All right, y'all. For Big Z, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next week for episode 79. Until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
Hey.
Episode, I mean, I can read Roman numerals. I know why'd you put that in there.
Hey, let me tell you something. Thank you for being a friend.
Yeah, next week we'll be in the studio, man. This Zoom shit is it's gnarly, man.
It's still fun.
But it kind of throws off our timing.
You have a lot of incest.
That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos.
Show's over, show's over, show's over.